Hey, my name is Marina, and I am officially the most perfectionist person on the planet. I'm not exaggerating, I called off my own wedding because the cake was 2 millimeters too short. I literally measured it with a ruler in front of 300 guests. But this unhealthy obsession that destroyed my life turned me into the biggest anti-perfection influencer in Brazil, with 15 million followers. Before we get into it, make sure to like this video. It's super important for the YouTube algorithm, and share it with your friends. Tell them to subscribe right now. My parents were always very successful. Dad was a surgeon and Mom was an architect. They expected excellence in everything. When I was 7, I got second place at the science fair out of 847 projects. Any other kid would be thrilled, right? Wrong. Dad looked at my volcano project, which took me 3 months to make, and said in this cold voice, I'll never forget, second place is just the first loser, Marina. I hope you learn from this. Failure? Failure? He called second place a failure. From that day on, I started redoing everything until it was perfect. I spent 6 hours drawing a house in art class. The teacher had to drag me out because I kept erasing and redrawing the same window 47 times. By 10, I was waking up at 4 in the morning to review my homework. If a single letter was a millimeter crooked, I'd rip out the entire page and start over. I went through 23 notebooks in 1 year. But it worked, right? I was the best in my class, perfect grades, won every award. What I didn't know was that it was going to cost me everything. In high school, things got much worse. I had 0 friends, and it wasn't because people were mean, it was because I was impossible to be around. One time, Sarah asked me to be in a group project. She typed up the introduction, and when I saw it, my God, she had used Comic Sans. Comic Sans. I screamed, "How dare you? This is an academic presentation, not a kid's birthday party. Redo everything in Times New Roman, 1.5 spacing, margins of exactly 1 inch. Sarah shot back, Marina, are you crazy? It's just a school project. I said, crazy. I'll do it myself. I'm out of the group. And I did, by myself. I pulled 4 all-nighters and got an A. Sarah got a C with her group. But she had friends, and I had a grade. People started avoiding me. I'd hear them in the hallways. Don't ask Marina, she'll freak out if we use the wrong color pen. Someone else said, she spent 3 hours organizing the library books by color tone. Nobody asked her to. And the worst part, I had done that because the spines weren't harmonized. I got home that day, and Mom could tell something was wrong. She asked, Marina, sweetie, is everything okay? I answered, Mom, nobody likes me. Mom said, nonsense. You're the top student. Everyone admires you. I looked at her and said, admiring isn't the same as liking, Mom. Admiring is watching from a distance. But I thought to myself, who needs friends when you have a bright future? Spoiler, I did. In architecture school, following in Mom's footsteps, of course I met Rodrigo. He was everything. I wasn't. Laid back, spontaneous, late for everything. And yet, he was happy. One day, we were working on a model I had spent 67 hours perfecting. And then, Rodrigo spilled coffee on it. I saw red. I was about to explode. But before I could scream, he said, dude, I'm so sorry. Let's make it even better. We'll do it over, and it's going to be amazing. And he smiled. After destroying 67 hours of my work, for the first time, I took a deep breath and said, it's fine. Let's just redo it. We stayed until 3 in the morning. When we finished, the model wasn't perfect. There was glue showing one wall was 3 degrees off, but it was beautiful. And it was made with joy. We started dating a week later. He made me feel like I could breathe, that mistakes weren't the end of the world. For the first time, I was happy. But of course, my perfectionism wasn't going to let that last. 3 years later, Rodrigo proposed. It was imperfect. He forgot the ring and used one from a soda can. The old Marina would have had a meltdown. The new Marina thought it was cute. And I said yes, but when we started planning the wedding, that voice came back. My dad's voice. Second place is the first loser. I had to have the perfect wedding. I hired 4 wedding planners. I went through 247 fabrics. I imported roses from Ecuador because the Brazilian ones had asymmetrical petals. Rodrigo tried to calm me down. Babe, no one is going to measure the rose petals. I snapped back. I will measure them. Rodrigo started to get distant, but I thought, after the perfect wedding, everything will go back to normal. The big day arrived. Everything was perfect. The chairs aligned with millimeter precision, the lights at the exact color, temperature, and the cake. When the baker delivered it, I did what I always do. I measured it, and that's when I saw it. The third tier was 5.8 inches tall. The contract specified 6 inches exactly, 2 millimeters short. I screamed, "You had one job, 6 inches, not 5.8. Rodrigo came running. "Marina, what's going on?" I said desperately, "The cake is wrong. It's off by 2 millimeters. Rodrigo looked at me. "Marina, you're measuring our wedding cake with a ruler?" And then he did something that changed everything. He took the cake and he threw it on the floor. Total silence. 300 people looking on in horror. Rodrigo said, his voice breaking, "There. Now you don't have to measure it. And you know what? There's not going to be a wedding either." He continued, "I can't do this anymore, Marina. I spent 3 years trying to show you that life dose and tea have to be perfect to be beautiful. But you choose perfection over me." He took off his ring and said, "I love you, but I can't marry someone who loves perfection more than she loves me." He walked away. I was left there in a $12,000 wedding dress, cake on the floor. All I could think was, but the cake was wrong. The next few days were the worst of my entire life. I'd rewrite an email 20 times before sending it. I'd delete and retype text messages 15 times. I would literally cry if my pens weren't perfectly aligned on my desk. And then I realized I wasn't alone. So I did something I had never, ever done before. I recorded a video. No editing, no planning, no script. Just me, dark circles and all, saying, "My name is Marina. 3 months ago, I called off my wedding because the cake was 2 millimeters off. And I can't stop thinking that I was right about the cake, but wrong about everything else." I posted it without reviewing it for the first time in my life. I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I had 2.4 million views, 15,000 comments. "You are me. Finally, someone gets it. I lost my boyfriend for similar reasons. You're not alone." And that's when everything changed. I started posting daily, but not about perfection, about imperfection. Day 1 of embracing chaos, I left the house with 2 different socks on purpose. I had 3 panic attacks, but I survived. Day 15, I sent an email with a typo. The world didn't end. Day 30, I drew something intentionally crooked, and I cried, but I drew it. Every video was me, failing on purpose, and learning to be okay with it. In one video I said, "Today I'm going to bake a cake, and I'm not going to measure anything. I'm just going to make it, and if it's lopsided, great. Perfect is boring anyway." In 6 months I had 5 million followers. In 1 year, 15 million. Brands started reaching out, but not to promote perfection, to promote authenticity. "Marina, we want you to show our product, flaws and all." I did campaigns for companies that wanted to show the B-side. I made $40,000 for one video showing how a $500 dress looks just okay, not perfect, on a real body. I even launched a course, How to Accept That Good Enough Is Good Enough. 67,000 people bought it at $197 each. You can do the math, but you know the best part. One day, 80 months after the non-wedding, I was filming a video in the park when a voice said, "Marina." I turned around, and it was him. "Rodrigo," he said. I watch your videos. All of them. I was so surprised. Really? He replied. You seem different. Happy, I told him. I am. I still fight it every day. But I am. After an awkward silence, he asked, That cake? Was it really 2 millimeters off? I laughed and said, It was, but I was more wrong. By like 2 million millimeters. He laughed too. That's not a real measurement. I said, I know. And it's okay. He asked me if I wanted to grab a coffee. Nothing perfect. Just coffee. I said, I'd love that, but on one condition, if you spill it on my lap. We laugh and take a picture for Instagram. He smiled. Deal. Today, 2 years after Cake Day, my life is messy in the best way possible. Rodrigo and I got married in Las Vegas. No planning. I was in jeans. He was in a band t-shirt. It cost $89, including the photos. It was absolutely perfect. My channel has 18 million followers now. I post about things I did poorly today and it's totally fine and how to mess up a recipe and still eat it. I make over $500,000 a year by being professionally imperfect. And last week I found out I'm pregnant. When Rodrigo asked, What if our kid inherits your perfectionism? I said, Then we'll teach them that it's okay to mess up. That good enough is a beautiful phrase, and that measuring wedding cakes with a ruler is a sign you need therapy. I'm still in therapy, by the way, and I'll probably need it for the rest of my life. And that's okay. I still have those impulses. I still want to line up the books by color, but I learned something important. You can have perfectionist tendencies without letting them have you. Life isn't a ruler. You can't measure it in millimeters. It's messy. And that's exactly what makes it beautiful. So, if you're watching this and you're a perfectionist, just breathe, mess up, fail, live. Because perfection is a prison. And imperfection is freedom. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. And you is already amazing.